Dear friends from South Asia, this is Misha Rahman welcoming all of you to another episode of Talk Dhaka. And today's episode is actually quite exciting because I have a very special guest with us on our show today. Usually on my show you meet a lot of dynamic Bangladeshis, but today I have invited on my show a South Asian at heart. He is actually a British-born Pakistani by origin, and also he has a link with the other countries of South Asia. And what he does is he lives in UK, but he's actually very much engaged in various activities in the region. So I'd like all of you to meet the Associate Director of Mosaic in the UK, Mr. Arif Zaman. Mr. Arif, first of all, welcome to Bangladesh.
Thanks, Mishu. Great to be here. Great to be joining you.
Surely it's not your first visit to Bangladesh. You've been coming here quite often.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell our South Asian friends about what exactly you do while living in the UK?
Well, I do a combination of things, really. I mean, I should start with probably the place that you don't expect me to start, which is I spend 2 days of my working week looking after a 2-year-old. Because, you know, I have a young daughter, my wife and I both work part-time, so we can spend some time with our 2-year-old daughter. So that's one part of what I do. But the rest of what I do is, yes, I mean, I work with a consultancy. The commercial work I do is with a consultancy that does a lot of work on reputation and risk, or as it's now sometimes referred to as reputational risk. You know, this is the kind of stuff that happens when campaigns go wrong, branding campaigns go wrong, or just companies that have strong brands want to manage their reputation better because there's a lot of value in that. So that's part of the work I do. Then the other part of the work I do is more on social ventures. And that's where Mosaic comes in. It's where some of the stuff I do on South Asia comes in. So that's the blend and mix of what I do.
Would you like to tell our South Asian friends a little bit about Mosaic, because that's actually a trust funded by the Prince of Wales, and I think it has more to do with engaging with people that our audience can relate to.
It's really about building and strengthening leadership across a number of countries that share one thing in common, that they happen to be Muslim majority. And it's come out of a couple of things. It's come out of the Prince of Wales charities. In the UK, some people may or may not be aware, but the biggest youth charity in the UK is called the Prince's Trust. And they do a lot of work, particularly on youth entrepreneurship, on unemployed youth, skills-based work with young people across the UK. And there are other charities that do work on corporate social responsibility, environment, etc. And a couple of years ago, a number of Muslims that were involved in these various charities, including myself, approached the Prince's charities and said, well, look, you're doing some great stuff, but there are some real challenges in our own community, in the Bangladeshi community, the Pakistani community, the Indian community in the UK, but particularly the Pakistani and Bangladeshi communities in the UK, and we need to do something about that. So that's really where Mosaic began from. So at its heart is the mentoring program, where we have several hundred people of Bangladeshi, and mainly of Bangladeshi and Pakistani origin in the UK, who volunteer their time to provide mentoring to people, kids I should say, from the age of 6 up to 24, and also people in prisons. So, you know, it's both kids, if you like, it's the soft end, soft core and hardcore. And the hardcore is prisons and soft core is schools. But I know schools can also be quite noisy as well. So that's one key part of what we do. Then there's the international program, which also exists as well.
I think you've been a core catalyst in actually forming the first international summit from various Muslim countries in the UK, and I was very lucky to meet you in one of those last year. What was your feeling from the first such gathering? I mean, was it fruitful, or what was it like? What were the young people from Asia like?
It was, I wouldn't say it was nerve-wracking, but it was nerve-wracking actually, in a sense, because it's never been done before. You know, getting 90 people together from countries as diverse as Bangladesh, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Egypt, Qatar, I mean a mix of countries in Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the Middle East, bringing them to the UK. They're all, and I know your viewers don't know your age, Miss Yu, so I'll just say that the age band was 20 to 40.
They knew that.
I know this is a South Asia state secret, which has just been broken. So that was one of the things that we had. You know, we had this incredible group of people from very diverse backgrounds. We had people like yourself, you know, that work in media. We had people that work in business, in NGOs, in education. We had an amazing guy, and you remember him very well, GM from Skurdu. He works on snow leopard conservation, you know, in northern Pakistan. So we had a whole range of different people. And they came together for a couple of weeks on a leadership development program. And it was all about building and sharing common experiences and common ground around some key areas. Environment was one, entrepreneurship was another, not just entrepreneurship for business, but entrepreneurship in the context of social entrepreneurship. Islamic finance was part of that as well. And the third area was communities, you know, building strong communities.
What I was really interested to actually know is you've met so many, at least 30 young people from Asian countries, from South Asia. So what was their impact? I mean, were they very actively involved in what was going on around them or on global issues?
So one of the things that was most striking was getting all these people together. But the South Asian community that was there, you know, of about 20, 25 of the 90, was a really interesting group. And I say that in a positive sense. Because South Asia is, in a sense, the world's best kept secret. It is and it isn't. It doesn't get its fair share of what's actually happening here, I think. And of course, I would say this on South Asia television, but in any case, I really believe it. And, you know, the South Asians that were there, they were up for it. They really engaged, they got involved. They, I mean, one of the highlights for me, and I have to, in the interest of transparency and openness, I'll have full disclosure on my ethnic origins here. That my mother's from Lahore, my father's from Bangalore, I have an uncle from Dhaka. I was born in London. Grandmother came here in 1932 and stuff. But anyway, the point was that I feel, you know, when I have to answer this question for the British government every 10 years, sometimes more often, about your ethnic origin, I always find a box that doesn't apply. Because I'm not Indian origin, I'm not Pakistani origin, I'm not Bangladeshi origin, I'm South Asian origin.